Welcome to Dead Man Talking. Tonight's story is a frightfully sinister and chilling reminder of to keep your friends close and your enemies closer. Without further ado, let's get into tonight's story entitled A Countryside Party. Let's get straight into that. Surrey is a big county sitting on the border of London. There are areas in Surrey that are basically described as the suburbs of London. This was the area I lived in. If you asked 99% of the world's population to spend a day in my area, they would tell you I lived in London, but the snobby banker arseholes from Knightsbridge would turn their noses up and explain you all the minute differences they could make up. Nevertheless, I loved my area. It had all the convenience of living within the city without the inconvenience of the packed, overpopulated city. I met my boyfriend not far from where I lived. We actually grew up friends and used to hang around together in a bigger group growing up. Slowly but surely the group got smaller and smaller until eventually we all stopped meeting. I went to college in the area and made new friends, and he went into work. Until we met one night in a nightclub, and later that night we went back to mine. Nothing happened, but we arranged our first date for the following week, and that's where our real story began. I wasn't one of them clingy girlfriends. All I needed was trust and love, and we could get around any hurdle put in front of us. 3 years passed and we had moved in together. I was 25, he was 26. We worked hard, but we were very happy with the way things were going. My boyfriend had started up his own business with a friend, and thanks to their hard work, we would turn it into a very successful business with some great potential. I worked my way up in an office job and was already regional manager. Life wasn't always easy, but all in all, we were happy together. He asked me to marry him in a way most would call boring or unromantic. It was just perfect for me. I cringe at the thought of all the fancy bullshit. Our relationship was real, and we didn't try and put any fancy bows and ties on it. I accepted his proposal. It was obvious, but I always knew I would look back fondly at that memory. I still had my friends from college who liked to drink a lot. I wasn't much of a drinker until I was with them. Then I would put most people to shame. My boyfriend liked to drink as well, but he was more of a all-rounder drinker rather than the occasional one. It was my friend's birthday, and I decided I would tell them about our new engagement the next day, as not to steal the spotlight on her night. Both of us were invited and looking forward to having a drink after all. We could use this as our chance to celebrate without having any bullshit engagement party. The party was a little further into Surrey, and we would need one of us to drive. Seeing as it was my friend's party, he said he would drive without me even needing to ask. Looking back, I don't know why we didn't get a taxi. But it was rare. We would need to travel into the opposite direction of London, and normally we would just get a bus. Taxis were seen as something you'd take to an airport and were rarely used by us otherwise. We drove there in high spirits, belting out Oasis songs as loud as we could with the speakers up top volume, like a couple of 18-year-olds that have just started driving for the first time. My friends had forced me to dress up, and I even had heels on. I hated heels. But I also couldn't be bothered for the shit show that would come if I showed up in my Reebok Classics. So I wore them to keep the peace. When I got there, we were a little late, but really perfect time because everyone had already had a drink or two, so everyone had relaxed a bit. Being the first to a party is just so awkward. I got the first round with the excuse I was playing catch up. a double vodka and coke with 5 Zambuca shots and 5 Jaeger bombs, and a Foster shandy for my driving boyfriend. He liked a drink in general, but was more than alright being the designated driver. As the night went on, I got smashed. One of them nights that's borderline blackout. I have flashbacks of an argument between me and my boyfriend, but I don't think it was too serious. Nevertheless, last orders were called and we stayed a good 2 hours after, just talking with my friends. Then the staff literally kicked us out. We said our goodbyes. The drive home was very different than the drive there. It was around 3 in the morning at this point, and fucking freezing. As soon as we got in the car, I heard the chime that means we are low on petrol. But I was still drunk and figured that if it was necessary, then my boyfriend would take care of it. We had the radio on, but weren't really listening to it, and before long, I had dozed off. However, I was awoken what seemed like seconds later. It was actually an hour later. My boyfriend had gotten lost looking for a petrol garage and ended up losing the battle. It was the noise the car made when it finally ran out of petrol that had awoken me. Our sat-nav had lost signal as the roads we're driving on were barren to say the least, and thickly covered, overtopped by trees from both sides. Forest both sides of us, he said. Before we lost signal, my sat-nav said the nearest petrol garage was the other side of the forest to our left. It was cold, dark, late, and we were lost in the middle of nowhere. The additional idea of me walking through a forest and hills didn't sound like something I would be too interested in. Before I got a chance to even open my mouth, he said to me, "Wait here, and I'll go get the jerry can to get us moving again, okay?" I said I would go with him, now feeling guilty he would have to go alone, but he wouldn't let me. Plus, in the state I was in, I would only slow him down. He told me to go back to sleep in the car and we'll be home before I know it, so I agreed. I got in the car, put on the radio and found a station that wasn't flooded with white noise. I found a talking station and put it on a quiet volume before putting the heating on high as the car had begun to feel icy. I woke up to the sound of condensation dripping on the top of the car. It was morning now. The car hadn't moved and there was no sign of my boyfriend. Obviously, the state I had left the car in meant it probably wasn't long before the battery went. I was freezing cold now. I looked at my phone and again the battery was gone. I unlocked the door to stretch my legs. I hear a distant scream telling me to get away. When I look over, I see an old couple looking at me. The gesture was to come towards them with panic in their eyes. I started making my way over as if they had a phone that I could borrow, or at least point me in the direction of one. Halfway towards them, I glanced back at the car. My boyfriend, my fiancé, levitated about a foot above the car, hanging. His neck tied to a branch from a tree above, any bit of skin on show almost unrecognisable with the gashes and the blood that covered him. His right eye had popped out of his socket, dangling like the rest of his body. The other cut away and nowhere to be seen. The dripping on the car I'd heard earlier, confused as condensation, was his blood. Looking at the floor around me, there was blood trail going all the way up the road. There was just so much blood. I was questioning if it could all be his. I fell to my knees. I cried, not hysterically, as I was still in shock. I'd think I was dreaming if I wasn't so sure it was real. I never knew pain like this. I was questioned more than once, but I think they believed I had nothing to do with it in the end. An autopsy said the attack looked to be from an animal. They couldn't enlighten me as to how he got tied above the car. I'll never lose that image I saw that morning, as it is ingrained in my memory. Every moment I blink or close my eyes, that is all I see now. The police have closed the case now. I imagine a freezer is the best place to keep an eyeball from going mouldy. But I keep it hidden under the bottom tray to keep it safe. That prick thought I was drunk, but I remember him chatting up my mate that night, gliding his finger up and down her leg I could see she loved every moment of it. I stopped drinking at that point and used some of my skills from the acting course I took in college but never pursued. I wasn't expecting my chance to come so soon with him. Now, I just have to wait for my chance with her, the slut. Wow. Hope you guys enjoyed that story. I did not see the twist at the end of that one. Please do let me know what you think down below in the comments. Of course, guys, please do like and share. And remember, be good to those around you. And above all, be safe, not sorry.